Welcome to Ion Franchising, where you will learn the A to Z's of franchising. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising. I'm your host, Lance Graulich. So today, we're going back to the restaurant business. I say that because although those are my roots, owning restaurant franchises, and I started up Pink Box Donuts in Las Vegas. This is a hot business right here, okay? So welcome to the plant-based party. This brand is so hot, it just set up for franchising. So you want to make an investment in a plant-based, amazing concept. Let's talk about Veggie Grill. Today, I have Mr. TK Pillan. He is the founder and executive chairman of Veggie Grill. So TK, welcome to the show.
Lance, nice to be here. Yeah, I like it. Plant-based party. Let's do it.
Plant-based party. So, let's take us way back, take everybody here listening way back to, let's talk about you before you ever even got into franchising. Because a lot of people want to understand, how do people get into franchising? People, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a policeman. Nobody says I want to be in franchising, right?
That's true.
So, how did it happen for you? And take us way back to all that.
Sure. So I actually started out in technology. I went to MIT undergrad and had a career as a systems engineer, an analyst, and then ended up starting an e-commerce development firm in the mid-90s.
Love it.
So that was my first. So I became an entrepreneur in the mid-90s and ran and grew a successful business that did quite well during the first wave of the internet boom. And I sold that business and took a little time off and decided, spent some time trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And my mother was actually a holistic dietitian, registered nutritionist, and so I always had a health and wellness background, and I was looking at what was going on in the country with the healthcare issues we were having around obesity, diabetes, dependence on pharmaceuticals. And I knew there was a better way through, with food. And so I started focusing on trying to make, helping to lead the country in the right direction as my next business pursuit.
And boy, does this country need a lot of help with that. And we saw that through the pandemic, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So it was pretty incredible when I saw stats that the U.S. is the most obese developed country.
Yeah.
And pretty shocking and frightening at the same time.
Yep. So having grown up in the U.S., born and raised in the U.S., and kind of eating more of a standard American diet, but then being influenced by my mother specifically around what a better way to eat was. And then, I could see both sides of it and knew that the country could be led in a different direction, and it would be it would help alleviate a lot of the big healthcare crises we have. Right. And so I wanted to create a business that would help do that. And I also ate out a lot. I didn't cook and ate a lot of fast food and was not happy with the choices I had. Yeah. And at the time, I would eat at Subway a lot and get their turkey sub. It's what I thought was healthy.
Yeah.
And one day I was reading an article in the LA Business Journal, the top 10 franchisees in LA County. And they were all either pizza, burgers, or Subway. And I kind of scratched my head and I said, well, why can't somebody create a franchise business around restaurants and quick service restaurants that would help people eat delicious, healthy, and convenient food? Because I was a big fan of convenient food and I was a big fan of delicious food, and you could get that, but you couldn't get healthy food as well. So, so I scratched my head and I said, that would be a problem I'd like to solve. And so I set out to try and solve it. And one thing led to another. And I started this was 2005. And the research on the benefits of plant-based eating was just starting to come out. There was a book called The China Study. The American Dietetic Association just published a paper saying not only can you get all the nutrients you need except for B12, which you should take a supplement, but you can get all the other nutrients you need, because there was doubt before that you could get the protein and calcium. But the American Dietetic Association did their study and said, hey, you can get all the nutrients you need, and you're going to reduce your chance of several major diseases, including heart disease and several different forms of cancer. And that was really eye-opening for me. And and there was a few other books and studies I read, and got to a point where I said I should try this myself. So I became a plant-based eater, going from eating meat and dairy to plant-based, and I lost 20 pounds. My cholesterol went from over 200 to under 140. I was a college athlete. I played baseball and basketball, and then I'm now 37 and 20 pounds over my college weight, and losing my speed when I go for my runs and my performance in the gyms. And all of a sudden it all came back. Like I just felt a lot more energetic, a lot.
Awesome.
So it just worked for me. I became a big believer. Hey, plant-based, the data's there. Personally, it works for me, and that's a great way to eat. And then I learned about factory farming and all the destruction it creates from an environmental standpoint, which is now there's a lot of different, very credible sources that validate the environmental inefficiency that factory farming creates, and then there's also an animal welfare piece of it that's certainly publicized. But I saw that back in 2005, along with the health benefits, and said, if I could create a restaurant concept that made it fun, friendly, and approachable to eat plant-based food, and really made it part of American culture, and create a brand, because America loves its restaurant brands and its fast food brands. Well, let's do something that gives people the delicious, convenient piece of it, but do it in something that's really benefiting people's health and the planet. And so that was the vision, and I had enough passion around it to really go after it. And I brought some good partners on board. And
so let me ask you, so 2006 you opened the first location in Irvine?
Correct.
And how did that end up coming about? So you committed to the plant-based lifestyle. You obviously created some items specifically that you enjoyed, that tasted good and were healthy, and you're like, wait, other people would like this if they knew it was so much healthier. It's not gonna jack up your cholesterol or whatever it might be. So the question is, how did a guy that's not exactly a chef, that really never worked in a commercial kitchen as far as I know, how did that become opening in Irvine in 2006?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, and kind of a good segue into franchising, because I had zero experience in the restaurant world. So I did a lot of research. I visited every healthy restaurant I could find in Southern California, and I stumbled upon a couple vegan restaurants. And that was part of why I started researching the benefits of plant-based eating, because I stumbled upon a couple of these restaurants, enjoyed the food, thought it might solve that problem, and started doing the research, and made my dietary transition and became a big fan of plant-based food. And so I went back to the owner of one of those restaurants, and I said, hey, listen, I think your food could really, if it's formatted in a slightly different way, and we put it into more of a fun, friendly, approachable environment, because he had more of a niche restaurant serving vegans and vegetarians. And I was working with another partner at the time, and we together had this vision about taking this type of food and bringing it to the non-vegans and vegetarians who are just trying to eat healthy. And to do that, we had to really package it in a fun, friendly, approachable way, and choose the right locations and create the overall brand ambiance and concept that supported the food. Gotcha. And the vision. And so we talked to Ray White, who was the owner of that restaurant, or co-owner. And Kevin, my partner, and I talked to Ray and said, hey, here's our vision. Here's what we want to do. We'd love for you to be our restaurant operating partner. Do it. You know how to deliver great food. We've got a vision for the brand and a scalable business to bring this all across the country and really bring delicious plant-based food to the masses and help inspire and empower plant-based eating. And Ray had the exact same vision, and but didn't have the capital and some of the business building resources to take it across the country like we wanted to do. And so we partnered with him. And so in essence, I learned the restaurant business leveraging off what Ray had created with his first restaurant. And but then we created our brand. So I applied my own business skills because I had got my MBA.
Yeah.
Previously.
Hey, you're an MIT guy. I had an uncle who went to MIT, super bright. So I know where you went.
So I applied all of my skills, not around delivering the food, because I knew Ray had, and I brought a lot of people to his restaurant. I said, hey, am I kidding myself? Is this food delicious? Would you eat this? And I got a lot of feedback from non-vegetarians that, yeah, wow, who knew this food is really good? I'd eat it twice a week. I just don't, feel a little uncomfortable coming in here. It feels like I have to be a vegan. So that was kind of the light bulb. It's like, hey, if we make this fun, friendly, and approachable,
isn't it fun fooling carnivores when you give them something plant-based and say, hey, taste this?
Yeah.
They're like, wow, this is great. And they don't even know there's no meat in it.
Yeah. Yep. So that's always never gets old.
So 2006, you launched the first store, and I love the story because really that's what franchising is all about, is just creating a great team. Nobody can do things all on their own. You're always going to hire people that know things that you don't know, whatever that is. And you just laid that out. So let's kind of fast forward a little bit. Today there's 33 locations. And where, is that, are you in just California right now?
I know we're in California. We're also in Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Boston, Massachusetts, and we're in New York City.
Love it. Love it. So, you escaped California, you planted a flag, so to speak, in a couple of other states, and now you're set up for franchising. So essentially, when any new brand, I mean, you're not new anymore since 2006, but you set up in a bunch of different cities. We like to call that proof of concept. So clearly you set up a franchise system and now you're ready. So let's roll through that. Who are you looking for? And you know what? Before we get to who you're looking for, describe what Veggie Grill has. I know you have sandwiches and salads and bowls and it's plant-based, but there probably needs to be a little bit more description to that. We know your inspiration, but talk about the menu a little bit.
Sure.
What are the most popular things?
Yeah. So we specialize in delivering the best the plant-based world has to offer, right? When it comes to restaurants, there's a reason why Kentucky Fried Chicken does chicken and McDonald's does burgers, and they don't, and you go to one for one and the other for the other. And because they spend all their effort and everything they do is around optimizing, delivering core food around a concept. And we optimize around delicious plant-based food. And we're working with the latest and greatest plant-based products. And we're then optimizing recipes, looking at how we deliver them in the right menu items, at the right food costs, at the right speed. And so we do that around burgers, sandwiches, salads, bowls, along with appetizers and desserts. And we really try and deliver delicious plant-based food for a variety of moods. There's people who eat plant-based who want to stay healthy. And so we have delicious whole food plant-based salads and bowls. And then you can decide if you want to indulge a bit with a Beyond Meat topping, or you can stick to tempeh or tofu, or we've got different versions of chicken that people really can't tell isn't chicken. So we give people the option. Hey, do you want some of that old familiarity with the healthy whole food plant-based veggies, or indulge? And then we allow people to really indulge with really indulgent burgers and sandwiches. We have a double mac and cheese burger. We have a Santa Fe crispy chicken burger, a crispy buffalo chicken sandwich. So there's people have certain cravings and needs. They crave healthy or they crave indulgent, and we satisfy both, really everything between, at those two different ends and everything in between with delicious plant-based food and a variety of fun, friendly, familiar menu items.
Sounds great. So for those that have heard of plant-based, is there a definition you tend to give people? Because some people, I know the first time I heard somebody mention plant-based, I'm like, okay, sounds logical, but what is it really? Does that mean a piece
Sure.
of meat is made, but it isn't really meat, it's made of a plant? So where does that come from?
Sure. Well, there's probably two main terms that people use: plant-based and vegan. Um, and they really mean no animal products, right? So that's really no dairy, no beef, no chicken, no fish. Um, and then you can do that through a variety of different uh, foods. You could stick to more of the bowls and salads using ancient grains and quinoa and different kale, spinach, and all the different veggies. And then you can use either some of the more traditional plant proteins, like tofu and tempeh. And then, of course, we use beans and nuts and seeds, right? And so you have really healthy, delicious items. And then now there's also a big market because we've innovated in the food system to create, and this was just starting when we started Veggie Grill in 2006, is items where they really go through a process to replicate the taste and texture of meat by isolating different plant proteins and coming up with a process to bring them together, add the right flavor, add the right fat. And that serves an audience that really buys into, hey, I don't want to eat animal-based food either because I'm trying to cut down on my cholesterol, or I want to be environmentally friendly, or I just don't want to support factory farming and the animal lack of animal welfare with that. But a lot of Americans love the taste of meat. Meat is concentrated protein and concentrated fat. Well, you can now get that through these meat alternatives. And there's great chicken alternatives, great beef alternatives. There's a great Beyond Steak alternative that's coming out. And so there's both of those. And so, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because now I'm certainly more educated and the audience as well. So who are you looking for in a franchisee? Talk about that, talk about the investment, square footage, all that good stuff.
Sure. I mean, I would say, hey, it's really, what's great about us launching a franchise program is it's very similar to where I was 16 years ago. I wanted to do something that was good for people and the planet and leverage all of my business capabilities to do that. And so we want to start with people who really are passionate about the benefits of bringing delicious plant-based food to more people. And that's our vision, to do that across the world and inspire and empower plant-based eating. And the best way for us to do that is to partner with great operators, passionate, skilled operators in markets across the country that we're not in. And they know those markets. They can, and if we partner with them, we can achieve our vision a lot quicker. So, but there's two key words in there: passionate and skilled, right? You have to have the passion. Any entrepreneur has to have passion about what they're doing. But then you have to be skilled, right? Running restaurants is not for the faint of heart. It's a business that involves a lot of management. And so we need people who have some experience to what it takes to run a restaurant, and can bring that to bear as well. And if they have that, we can give them a great playbook. We've got the brand, we've got the menu, we've got the supply chain, we've got the marketing playbook. We've got it all. If they've got the passion and skill to run restaurants in certain markets, we can bring them everything else and develop a great partnership.
Now, can they be an investor type that hires an appropriate GM or director of operations, especially if they're looking to do multiple units?
Yeah, absolutely. There's several. We've got a map that we mapped out based on our own consumer research. And so we know there's certain markets across the country that'll support 6 to 10 Veggie Grills. So there's a great opportunity where you can have investor bring on partner with a restaurant operating partner, just like I did in the early days, to launch Veggie Grill. And that'll work because you've got the ability to launch multiple locations. There's other markets where maybe it could support 3 Veggie Grills. It might still work with an investor and an operating partner, but there's a little, that might work better with more of an operating, more somebody who comes from an operational background.
Got it. So investment wise and square footage, talk about that.
Sure. So our restaurants are generally 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. That's our mod. We have larger ones, but through changes of consumer behavior, we don't, which is great. We can launch successful Veggie Grills with smaller dining rooms, and so that allows us to build out restaurants we're targeting around $800K to build out a restaurant.
Okay.
But generally you probably want $1 million to give yourself a little cushion around different factors that play into how costs can change and some operating capital you need once you launch that restaurant. So, broad strokes is you'd want $1 million to launch a Veggie Grill.
And you're 33 stores into this, so it's fair to say that you've learned some things.
Yep.
So how did you guys know it was the right time to launch a franchise system? I mean, what inspired that? I want to be the fly on the wall when you guys decided, hey, let's, we got 33 corporate locations, let's franchise. How did you do that research to determine you're ready, it's right for you, etc.?
Yeah, well, 2 things. We have to be ready to really empower other operators to do what we do. And so having done 33 in multiple different markets, we now have a playbook and a system. And so that's number 1. And number 2, the market needs to be ready. And we're at a point now with plant-based where all major metros have consumers out there who are ready to eat plant-based and want to eat plant-based. And if you deliver them the best the plant-based world has to offer, they will come in and they will come back. And so we started in LA, which you would logically think is a great place to start, and it was. Right. And we have 13 Veggie Grills in LA County, right? But we have 2 Veggie Grills in Seattle, 2 in Portland, and they do great, right? And we have 1 in Boston, and that does great. And so we're learning now that these outer markets are really where LA was when we started Veggie Grill, and we were thriving there. Now all these other markets are ready for it based on how the trends have spread and people really understand the benefits of plant-based eating. And so the country's ready, every major metro's ready, and we've got the brand and playbook, and I think, and we have skilled operators now that are ready to do it.
Yeah, you brought up a really good point about demographics, because people always make assumptions. As a franchise broker, when I speak to people about any franchise, whether it's a home services brand or a restaurant, a lot of times, people say to me, well, do you think my market is good for that? And it doesn't really matter what you're talking about, whether it's Omaha, Nebraska, or Southern California, or Kansas City, Missouri. The demographics, maybe you have more people in Southern California or California in general that are vegan, but then you have a lot more vegan restaurants. But the Veggie Grill customer is obviously all over the country at this point. There's never been more awareness about eating plant-based and vegan than now. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure.
Every medical report that I see talks about how we need to eat better. And so is your customer, I would imagine, obviously your customer is going to be people that are already vegan, but you probably have a lot of people like me that you want to trade that fried chicken or whatever for Veggie Grill once a week or more, right?
Yep, for sure. That's what's really has driven the growth of the market. There's a lot of people who just want to eat more plant-based. They realize, hey, I've read the studies. I'm not going to give up meat, but I certainly don't need to eat it every day, and I can save it for certain nights out and try to eat more plant-based, and Veggie Grill serves that audience quite well.
Right. Awesome. Now, how do you communicate that? Talk about marketing. It's always a big thing in franchising. And I have a lot of people that say to me, well, what do they do for marketing? Yep. I'm not going to be with that brand unless they help me a lot with marketing. So obviously 33 stores, you've learned something.
Yeah. Yep. Marketing restaurants is, there's a playbook around it, right? Which starts with the community, which is why franchise partners work great with restaurants, because they know their community. They know the local schools and the local groups to work with. And what we, at the end of the day, we have all of the brand assets and the programs around school fundraisers and school sampling events. And excuse me, we also have the social media channels, right? That's a big piece of developing your brand and engaging with your guests now. And so we've got those fully built out with 200,000 people on our Instagram and over 300,000 people on our email list. And so we have a real dedicated community out there that will spread the word. And then we have a playbook for how to build your own community locally to leverage and support the overall community. And so it really goes hand in hand, but having a reputation, having all of the different assets, having the great menu and the reputation around that menu creates excitement that word of mouth spreads quickly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So talk a little bit about training. So I know you're looking for people that preferably have some restaurant background. You mentioned that you take on investors. What does that training really look like? There's going to be some training in a corporate store. Is that in California?
Yep. Yeah. Well, we bring them to a corporate store and have an immersive program where we take them through all the details of it, and then we would send our team out on site when they're getting ready to open their first restaurant and train them.
It's got to be quite a bit of training in your corporate store. Is it? At least
we've got a training team, and it's no different than how we've opened in all our outer markets, because we have our corporate team here in Southern California, but we train teams up in Northern California, Seattle, Portland, Boston, New York. And so we've got a playbook and a process where if you've got certain skills, we can train you on how to deliver the best of the plant-based world around the sandwiches, burgers, salads and bowls. And supply chain certainly helps as well. And that's a big piece of what we bring to the table too, is we do all the R&D around the latest and greatest products and put together the right recipe bills and the food costs and all that. So part of what we do is we keep our menu fresh and we update it with several new items every quarter, and that creates the excitement and the continued frequency amongst our guests.
That's fabulous. So when it comes to openings, I would imagine as you opened in all these different cities, in the beginning, you're doing openings and you're pumping a lot of money into grand openings. At some point, you get to your 200,000 or so on Instagram. You just put a note on Instagram in advance, a couple of notes, and then all of a sudden you have a line out the door for an opening, right? Is that how it works these days?
Yeah. Well, if you go on our Instagram, you see every day people are saying, come to Charlotte, come to Houston, come to Miami. So there's pent up, because what happens, we have the benefit too of being in LA and being in New York City, and people go there, visit, go to find Veggie Grill because they're looking for delicious plant-based food and become big fans. And now when it comes to their community, they spread the word quickly.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of franchising. It's funny because I've heard of Veggie Grill because I live in Vegas and I've been to a Veggie Grill. It's been a while in California. And I was, I knew, hey, this thing's gonna catch on and it's gonna be a big deal. But everybody's looking for it. My daughter's got to eat a clean diet for medical reasons. And boy, anybody can obviously be a customer of Veggie Grill. But my whole point about marketing, people ask me all the time, why would I not just do my own business? And again, fill in the blank, what category? I said, well, a franchise, when they're doing all this marketing for you, or their Instagram or TikTok or whatever on social media is really hitting it, they are bringing you lots of customers just by doing certain posts. And I think people really underestimate the power of social media, but you shouldn't for restaurants, especially.
Yeah. Yep. The social media, the excitement around new menu items. And yeah, there's a reason why McDonald's is McDonald's, and all the great brands in the restaurant world are who they are. And that's our goal, to do that around plant-based.
So what are the hottest areas now that you're set up for franchising? What are the hottest areas that you want to be in? You're already in quite a few great areas in the Pacific Northwest and what have you, Seattle and Portland that you mentioned. But give me the top three, just your opinion, of where you want to be next that you're not.
Yeah. Miami would be a great market for us.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Atlanta certainly would be a great market. Yep. And yeah, we certainly, the Houstons, they're big cities. Dallas, big city. They have a lot of consumers, right? Even though Texas is you associate with meat, they have a lot of people who are trying to eat a little healthier.
So I have to ask, are there going to be, and maybe there is, I didn't see it on the menu, but while you're doing different features and specials and what have you here and there as you're adding menu items, when you go to an area, let's say like Houston, Texas, or Dallas, when you hit there eventually, do you foresee a plant-based barbecue that that pops up? And I'm being serious. That would be pretty cool.
For doing our own specific items for those city.
For the kind of the regional favorites like Miami with the Latina influence or the South American influence, you could have a lot of cool things that fit that area too.
Yeah, I think what would happen is we'll learn from our franchisees, right? They'll bring ideas to us, and we'll say, "Well, that's a great idea. Let's do it," and then we'll launch it in that community, and then try it in other areas as well. I think that's what I've seen from other really successful brands, is they learn from their franchisees and take the feedback and improve their overall concept.
Yeah. And based on what I just said, it wasn't just Latinas, it was the Latin influence. So I don't want to make it sound it's just focused on ladies. So so 33 locations. What's your goal for 2023? We're young in 2023 here, just a few months in. Are you looking to sell 5, 10? How many franchises?
Sure. I mean, well, we don't want to rush it, right? It takes time to find the right location and then build out the restaurant the right way and make sure the team's trained. So, we're probably, if we could get 1 or 2 open this year, that would be great, but we're not going to push it. Our goal is to sign great franchisees this year and really hit 2024 with a plan to build out locations in various markets where we find the right partners.
Got it. And we didn't say it officially, but as far as I can tell, you are the #1 chain of plant-based. Like you're the leader in the United States, probably the world, as far as I can tell.
Yep. From a size standpoint, we are, and I would think from a brand recognition standpoint, we certainly are.
So we can call you the McDonald's of plant-based.
That's right. We can.
So final thoughts, final words of wisdom. We have a lot of listeners that are hearing this podcast and wondering, is a franchise right for me? Is the restaurant business right for me? So why Veggie Grill? Obviously, restaurants are a much larger investment. Restaurants, for those listening, you might already know, but restaurants are always a huge part of franchising. They're the big prominent brands on street corners in America. But, there's a lot of categories, but restaurants seem to be the sexiest and most popular segment as always. But give me your final thoughts, final words of wisdom for the listeners.
Sure. I'd say, if you love making people happy, right, and being part of your community and having a business that you really are proud of and is making a positive impact on the world, right, those are things that give me joy every day. Right, because I didn't start as a restaurateur. I started as a technology guy working on back-end systems, and now I really get to have real satisfaction every day knowing what we're doing is really helping to lead the country in the right way. It's serving our communities, walking our restaurants, talking to guests. It's not easy, but there's a lot of satisfaction you get out of it. And I think a lot of people out there, I think, have gone through certain careers and are looking for what to do next and would like to do something they're really proud of. And I would say that really has served me well.
Love it. Well, TK, and actually for those listening, if you want to join the plant-based party, reach out to TK. And
That's right.
TK, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. You were awesome.
Well, thanks. Yeah, Lance, great to be here.
Talk to you soon.
Yep. Okay. Get to Veggie Grill soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for listening today. Please like, follow, and subscribe. This is Lance Graulich. Until next time.